Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a topic that's both shocking and thought-provoking: male celebrities who are almost unrecognizable after going under the knife. We're talking dramatic jawlines, chiseled cheekbones, and transformations so extreme, even die-hard fans had to do a double take. Some say the surgery was a glow-up, others believe it erased the very charm that made them stars in the first place. So, did they level up their looks, or lose what made them iconic? That's for you to decide. If you've ever spotted a male celebrity who looked completely different after cosmetic work, hit us with a 1 in the comments. If not, drop a 0 and let's see what the crowd says. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another deep dive into the wild world of fame and transformation. Alright, let's get into it. Al Pacino isn't just a Hollywood legend. He's a master of presence, a man who's always known how to control his image without ever losing his soul. With those intense, soul-piercing eyes and chiseled features, Pacino redefined masculinity on screen in the 1970s. From The Godfather to Dog Day Afternoon, he didn't just play roles. He embodied them, becoming a symbol of raw talent and complex charisma. As the years passed, Pacino's transformation was never drastic, but rather deliberate and dignified. In Scarface, 1983, his aging was natural, a reflection of time's steady hand. But by Scent of a Woman in 1992, fans couldn't help but notice. His once thinning hair appeared fuller. Experts like Dr. Robert Bernstein believe Pacino may have quietly embraced early hair restoration, not for vanity, but for continuity. Entering his 60s, subtle facial tweaks suggested the lightest touch of cosmetic refinement, not to erase age, but to preserve the essence of the man audiences fell in love with. Hollywood makeup legend Maurice Stein once said Pacino was always intentional, committed to maintaining a look that felt true, familiar, and powerful. His shift from tortured rebels to commanding patriarchs wasn't just a career evolution. It was mirrored in his face, his style, his aura. Even in The Irishman, 2019, before the digital de-aging, Pacino's well-groomed, carefully managed appearance radiated timeless energy. Al Pacino didn't fight aging, he shaped it. He didn't try to look younger, he stayed unforgettable. And in doing so, he reminded us that longevity in Hollywood isn't about chasing youth, but about honoring what made you iconic in the first place. Bert Lancaster, the golden-era heartthrob known for his chiseled physique and magnetic charm, didn't just rely on good genes to stay camera-ready, he subtly embraced the tools of Hollywood magic. His transformation began quietly in 1947, when he underwent otoplasty to pin back slightly protruding ears, a small fix, but one studio heads believed made a big difference to his leading man appeal. As his fame soared, Lancaster continued polishing his image. In the early 1950s, he had porcelain veneers placed over a few uneven teeth, crafting that unforgettable, gleaming smile that became part of his trademark charisma. But Lancaster's attention to detail wasn't about vanity, it was discipline. A former circus acrobat, he treated his body like a temple, finely tuned for performance both on screen and off. That same mindset guided his cosmetic decisions. In 1967, as he entered his 50s, he opted for an endoscopic brow lift, cutting edge for its time, to combat sagging brows and deepening forehead lines. The result? A refreshed, youthful face that still looked unmistakably like Bert. By the mid-1970s, he turned to thread lifts, a newer, less invasive technique that gave subtle lift without the downtime of traditional facelifts. While other stars shunned the mirror or fought aging in silence, Lancaster leaned into the illusion. "This business is all about illusion," he once said in a 1980 interview, embracing the fact that stardom wasn't just about talent, but also about image. According to celebrity plastic surgeon Dr. Alan Matarazzo, Lancaster's choices were the gold standard in male grooming: discreet, strategic, and always a step ahead of the curve. His quiet evolution set the bar for Hollywood men, proving that you could age with grace and still steal every scene. Bert Reynolds was the epitome of rugged charm, broad-shouldered, confident, and irresistibly masculine. But behind that iconic mustache and fearless persona was a man quietly battling time and insecurity. His journey into cosmetic surgery began not out of vanity, but necessity. In the mid-1970s, while filming Deliverance, a stunt went terribly wrong, shattering his jaw and forcing him to undergo reconstructive surgery. It was a turning point. As Reynolds entered his 40s, Hollywood's relentless pressure to stay young began to weigh on him. His once thick hair started to thin, and in 1978 he became one of the first stars to undergo a hair transplant. A grueling, painful process that left scars not just on his scalp, but perhaps on his self-esteem. By the 1980s, he turned to facelifts and facial treatments, first in 1984, then again in 1988, as if trying to freeze the clock on a face that America had fallen in love with. What set Reynolds apart was his honesty. Unlike many of his peers, he didn't hide behind excuses. On The Tonight Show in 1990, he joked about his procedures, bringing humor to a topic still taboo for men. Yet, as the years passed, his changing appearance sparked whispers. By the mid-1990s, the difference was impossible to ignore. In his 2015 memoir, Reynolds opened up about his regret. He admitted that many of the changes were fueled not by necessity, but by fear. Fear of fading, of becoming irrelevant, of losing the face that had built his legend. Plastic surgeon Dr. Anthony Yoon later reflected on Reynolds' story as a powerful reminder that in trying to preserve youth, we can sometimes lose the grace of aging with confidence. Carrie Grant, the very definition of timeless elegance on screen, was no accident of nature. It was a masterclass in reinvention. Born Archibald Leach, he arrived in Hollywood as a rough-edged young man with charm to spare but little polish. That all began to change in the early 1930s when Paramount set out to sculpt him into the ultimate leading man. In 1932, Grant underwent dental work that transformed his smile. Straightened teeth and a radiant grin became essential tools in the illusion of effortless charisma. But the magic didn't stop there. Well into his 50s, Grant continued to sweep audiences and much younger co-stars off their feet. In 1957, he discreetly opted for upper eyelid surgery to counter the tired look that the camera had begun to betray. The result was subtle, never flashy. Even Alfred Hitchcock, who directed him in some of his most iconic roles, once hinted with a wink that Carrie had found a way to roll back the clock. Hollywood never spoke openly about such things, especially when it came to male stars. Yet Grant's touch-ups were done with such finesse, they never interfered with the signature expressions that made him so magnetic. To fans, he simply aged like fine wine, his secret tucked behind tailored suits, good lighting, and what Katharine Hepburn once called his luxury car-level self-care. As Dr. Jessica Wu notes, Grant didn't chase youth, he refined it. His quiet, calculated approach to aging remains a gold standard in Hollywood. Enhance, don't erase. Be better, not unrecognizable. Cary Grant didn't just age gracefully, he aged strategically, and the result was cinematic immortality. Clark Gable, Hollywood's king with a carefully crafted crown. Long before he became the dashing Rhett Butler or the face of MGM royalty, Clark Gable was just another ambitious newcomer in late 1920s Hollywood, with a crooked smile and ears that drew the wrong kind of attention. But behind the legend was a secret makeover that helped shape him into a screen god. When Gable first arrived, MGM execs saw star potential, but also saw problems. His ears stuck out, his dental health was a disaster, and he didn't yet have the chiseled presence America would one day idolize. So, the studio stepped in and quietly transformed him. In 1932, Gable underwent a risky otoplasty, an ear-pinning procedure done without general anesthesia, a bold and painful move for its time. But the real challenge was his mouth. Years of injuries and untreated gum disease had left his teeth in ruins. Nearly all had to be extracted. MGM replaced them with state-of-the-art dentures, sculpting a new, camera-ready smile that would become iconic. None of this was ever revealed to the public. Studio contracts forbade any mention of cosmetic work, especially for male stars. But behind the scenes, Gable's transformation changed everything. According to celebrity surgeon Dr. Anthony Griffin, Gable's subtle enhancements redefined what masculine beauty could look like in the 1930s, tough, polished, but never fake. His was not just a makeover, it was the beginning of an era where image was everything, and Hollywood knew exactly how to build a king. Dean Martin, the legendary King of Cool, was the embodiment of effortless charm, crooning his way into hearts with that signature smile and velvet-smooth voice. But behind that iconic swagger and Hollywood perfection was a quiet truth. Some of that classic good looks came with a little help from cosmetic refinement. Born Dino Crocetti, Martin started out with a more rugged profile, most notably a higher, sharper nose bridge. But as his star power skyrocketed in the early 1950s alongside comedy partner Jerry Lewis, whispers began to circulate. Around 1953, Dean reportedly underwent rhinoplasty. The result? A subtle yet striking improvement that enhanced the symmetry of his face without erasing his unique appeal. It was a discreet move, never publicly confirmed, but a makeup artist who worked with him later revealed in 1996 that the surgery was masterfully done, reshaping his nose with natural finesse. As the years rolled on, Dean's legendary image didn't fade, it evolved. In the 1960s and early 70s, he is said to have undergone minor touch-ups. A lower facelift to define his jawline, a bit of eye work to lift the tired lids. These quiet procedures didn't change him, they refined him. They preserved the smooth, relaxed persona that made him a Rat Pack icon. Even Sammy Davis Jr. once joked that Dean's tweaks were the worst-kept secret in Vegas. Still, close-up shots from the 70s reveal the limits of cosmetic technology at the time, particularly around the eyes. According to renowned surgeon Dr. Paul Nassif, Dean Martin's transformation marked a turning point in Hollywood, a moment when the pressure to maintain perfection began to touch not just actresses, but actors too. Dean never spoke about it, and maybe he didn't need to. The magic wasn't in the nip and tuck. It was in the way he wore it, with quiet confidence, a glass of scotch, and a wink that said, "Ain't life grand?" Kirk Douglas wasn't just a Hollywood legend, he was a force of nature. With unforgettable roles in Spartacus and Paths of Glory, Douglas became the very image of masculine strength and unshakable will. But beyond the screen, he also redefined what it meant to age in the spotlight. While many of his peers quietly turned to cosmetic surgery, Kirk took a different path. He waited until the mid-1970s, nearing 60, before opting for his first subtle facelift, a touch-up that refined his jawline and neck without sacrificing his signature expressions. What truly set Douglas apart wasn't just his looks, it was his honesty. In a rare moment of candor during a 1988 interview, he admitted, "Everybody does it. I'm just more honest than most." That bold admission shattered Hollywood's silence on male cosmetic procedures. Over the following decades, Kirk underwent a few more tweaks, brow lifts, eyelid surgeries, and facial enhancements that mirrored the evolution of surgical techniques themselves. His son, Michael Douglas, once hinted that his father believed in using every tool available to stay sharp and camera-ready. And as renowned plastic surgeon Dr. Stephen Teitelbaum observed, Kirk's transformation was a reflection of both medical progress and the inevitable signs of time. While some of his later procedures were more noticeable, his openness paved the way for a new kind of Hollywood masculinity, one that wasn't afraid to talk about aging, enhancement, or self-care. In the end, Kirk Douglas wasn't just a pioneer on screen. He helped rewrite the rules of aging in Tinseltown, proving that strength and vulnerability can coexist, even under the glare of Hollywood's brightest lights. Robert Mitchum, the brooding king of film noir, was a master of understated charisma, on screen and off. Known for his rugged masculinity and laid-back cool, Mitchum never chased perfection. When he arrived in Hollywood in the 1940s, his crooked nose and asymmetrical features didn't fit the mold of a classic leading man. Still, in 1947, he reluctantly agreed to a subtle rhinoplasty, not to reinvent himself, but to refine what was already there. What truly set Mitchum apart was his refusal to erase the imperfections that made him unforgettable. His heavy-lidded eyes, once considered a flaw, became part of his signature mystique. In the 1950s, when studio executives pushed for eyelid surgery, he flatly refused. He wasn't interested in chasing youth, he was interested in staying real. As time wore on, Mitchum aged on his own terms. He never opted for a dramatic facelift. Instead, between 1968 and 1975, he chose a few discreet touch-ups to keep his strong jawline intact. Quiet procedures his doctor, Ronald Curran, called maintenance, not makeover. On screen, he leaned into the roles of wise, weathered men, never trying to cling to the past, but instead embodying the gravity of age with grace. That rare combination of restraint and raw presence helped cement Robert Mitchum as a Hollywood legend, one who aged not with denial, but with dignity. Robert Redford, the golden boy of Hollywood with the windswept hair, piercing gaze, and effortless charisma. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, he ruled the silver screen, embodying the rugged yet refined American ideal. But behind that timeless allure was a carefully crafted image, preserved not just by good genes, but by discreet cosmetic interventions few ever dared to confirm. While many of his contemporaries either denied the scalpel or fell victim to its excesses, Redford played it cool. In a 2007 interview with The Telegraph, when asked about his youthful glow, he simply said, "Everyone has the right to do what they want. I don't see a problem with it." It was a diplomatic answer, neither a confession nor a denial, but one that masked what experts believe was a masterclass in subtle transformation. Rumors suggest it began in the mid-1980s, as Redford approached 50. Subtle eyelid work likely reduced under-eye puffiness, softening his expression without dulling that iconic intensity. Makeup artist Leonard Angelman, who worked with Redford on multiple projects, once remarked how meticulous the actor was about his on-screen presence. By the early 1990s, as Redford transitioned behind the camera, his jawline appeared subtly firmer, leading some dermatologists, like Dr. Patricia Wexler, to suggest a strategic, phased approach to cosmetic enhancement. Nothing drastic, nothing obvious, just the quiet preservation of a legend's face, aging gracefully, but on his own terms. Thanks for watching Exposed Hollywood. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold secrets from behind the spotlight. Until next time, stay curious.